Hi everyone, and welcome to Read Aloud Time. This time we are going to be reading book number 3 in the Junie B. Jones kindergarten series, Junie B. Jones and Her Big Fat Mouth. When I open up the book, I find the table of contents with all of the chapters and the pages they start on. There are 8 chapters in this book, so if you want to spread it out, you might want to do 1 to 2 chapters a day. Each dot I draw will represent a chapter. So maybe you want to do 2 chapters on Monday, 1 chapter on Tuesday, 2 chapters on Wednesday, 1 chapter on Thursday, and 2 chapters on Friday, like a pattern. That would make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chapters, or however you want to spread it out. Chapter 1, Punishment. My name is Junie B. Jones. The B stands for Beatrice, except I don't like Beatrice. I just like B and that's all. I go to kindergarten. My room is named Room 9. There are lots of rules in that place, like no shouting, and no running in the hall, and no butting the other children in the stomach with your head. My teacher's name is Mrs. She has another name too, but I just like Mrs. and that's all. Last week, Mrs. clapped her loud hands together. Then she made announcement to us. Announcement is a school word for telling us something very important. Boys and girls, may I have your attention, please, she said. Today is going to be a special day in Room 9. We're going to be talking about different careers and you can have when you grow up. Yeah, only guess what, I said. I never heard of that word careers before, and so I would like to know what we are talking about. Mrs. made squinty eyes at me. A career is a job, Junie B., she said, and please raise your hand before you speak. Then Mrs. talked some more about careers, and she said Monday was going to be called Job Day, and everybody in Room 9 would come to school dressed up like what kind of job they wanted to be. After that, Room 9 was very excited, except for not me, because I had a big problem, that's why. Yeah, only guess what, I said. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and so that means I can't come to school on Monday, and now I'll probably flunk kindergarten. Hooray! Shouted a mean boy named Jim. I made a fist at him. How would you like me to bash your brains in, you big fat Jim? I shouted right back. Mrs. came over to my table. She bended down next to me. Please, Junie B., you simply must try to control yourself better in class. We've talked about this before, remember? Just then my bestest friend Lucille, who sits next to me, stood up and fluffed her ruffly dress. I always control myself, don't I, teacher? She said. That's because my Nana taught me to act like a little lady, and so Junie B should act more like me. I made a growly face at her. I do act like a little lady, you bunny Lucille. And don't say that again or I'll knock you on your can. Mrs. did a frown at me. Just kidding, I said real quick. Except for Mrs. kept on frowning, and then she gave me a punishment. Punishment is a school word for sitting at a big table all by yourself. And everybody keeps on staring at you and makes you feel like PU. That's how come I put my head down on my table and I covered up with my arms. Because punishments take the friendly right out of you. And so at recess, I didn't speak to Lucille, and I didn't speak to my other bestest friend named Grace either. I just sat down in the grass all by myself, and I watched janitor paint the litter cans, and I played with a stick and an ant, and that's all. I hate Room 9, I said very grumpily. Except for just then I saw something very wonderful in the grass. And its name was 2 Cherry Lifesavers. Hey, I love those guys, I said. Pause. If you don't know what a lifesaver is, that's like a hard candy. Unpause. Then I picked one up, and I blowed off the germs, and I put it right in my mouth. Wait, don't do that, shouted a loud voice at me. Spit that out right now. I turned my head. It was janitor. He was running at me speedy quick. His jingly keys were jangling all over the place. Spit that out now, I said, he yelled again. And so then I spit the cherry lifesaver on the ground, because that guy was scaring me, that's why. Janitor bended down next to me. I didn't mean to frighten you, sis, he said, but I spotted a bunch of dirty candy in the grass and I was going to clean it up when I was finished painting. He looked serious at me. Don't you ever eat anything you find on the ground, do you hear? Not ever. But I blowed off the germs, I said. Janitor shook his head. You can't blow germs off, he said. Eating things that you find in the ground is very, very dangerous. Then janitor picked up the dangerous candy. Now run along and play, he said. I did a big sigh. Yeah, only I can't, I said. Because I opened my big fat mouth in kindergarten and then I got a punishment and now I don't like my bestest friend, Lucille. Janitor smiled a bit. Life is hard sometimes, isn't it, sis? He said. I bobbed my head up and down. Yes, I said. Life is P.U. Then janitor patted my head and he walked away. And so guess what? I just like janitor and that's all. Chapter 2. The Cop and Dr. Smiley. When we came in from recess, Mrs. was clapping her loud hands together. Boys and girls, please take your seats quickly. I've got a wonderful surprise for you. Just then, I got very excited inside my stomach because surprises are my most favorite thing in the whole world. Is it jelly donuts? I shouted. Mrs. put her fingers to her lips. That means be quiet. Yeah, only guess what? Jelly donuts are my most favorite kind of donut, except I also like the creamy kind and the chocolate kind and then the kind with the rainbow sprinkles on the top. After that, my mouth got very watering and some drool fell on the table. I wiped it up with my sweater sleeve. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Mrs. hurried to open it. Hey, it's a cop! I shouted, very excited. The cop came into room 9. He had on a blue shirt with a shiny badge and shiny black boots and a shiny white motorcycle helmet. Mrs. smiled. Boys and girls, I would like you to meet my friend, Officer Mike. Officer Mike is a policeman. Who can tell me what policemen do? I can, I called out. They arrest people. Because one time a cop's arrested a guy on my street, and so that made him take a nap, I think. Just then that Jim I don't like laughed out loud. They didn't arrest him, he hollered. They arrested him. That means they took him to jail. And then the other kids started laughing, and so I hid in my head. Yeah, but I hardly even knew that, I said just to myself. After that, Officer Mike took off his shiny white helmet, and he told us some other stuff that cops do, like give their dads speeding tickets. And he let us play with his handcuffs and his shiny white helmet, except for the helmet was very too big for my head, and it covered up my whole entire eyes. Hey, who turned out the lights? I said. Because that was a funny joke, of course. Then another knock came on the door, and this time it was a lady in a long white jacket. She was carrying a giant red toothbrush. Boys and girls, this is Dr. Smiley, said Mrs. Dr. Smiley is a children's dentist. Dr. Smiley hung up some posters of teeth. Then she talked about Mr. Tooth Decay, and she said to brush our teeth at night and also in the morning. Yeah, because if you don't brush your teeth in the morning, your breath smells like stink, I said. After that, I showed Dr. Smiley my wiggly tooth. Losing baby teeth is exciting, isn't it? She said. Yes, I said, except for I don't like the part where you cry. Dr. Smiley made a sad face. Then she passed out minty green dental floss, and all the kids in room 9 practiced flossing. Flossing is when you pull strings through your mouth. Only pretty soon, an accident happened. That's because a boy named William winded his floss too tight, and his teeth and his head got tangled in a knot ball, and Dr. Smiley couldn't undo him. Then Mrs. had to call janitor Speedy quick, and so he ran to room 9 and he shined a giant flashlight in William's mouth, and then Dr. Smiley got the dangerous floss right out of there. Room 9 clapped and clapped. Dr. Smiley did a bow. Then Mrs. said that maybe some of us might like to dress up like dentists or police officers one day. Yeah, but what if you don't like bloody teeth, I said. Mrs. rolled her eyes way up high in the ceiling. Then she walked Officer Mike and Dr. Smiley out into the hall. That's when room 9 started buzzing very loud. Buzzing is what you do when your teacher leaves the room. Pause. No. If the teacher leaves the room, you carry on as usual. Unpause. I'm going to dress up like an actress on job day, said a girl named Emily. I'm going to dress up like a princess, said my bestest friend Lucille that I don't like anymore. I did a giggle. I'm going to dress up like a bullfighter, I said. Then I ran Speedy faster around the room, and I butted that mean Jim in the stomach with my head. And guess what? I didn't even get caught. That's what. Chapter 3. Me and my big fat mouth. After school was over, me and my bestest friend named Grace walked to the bus together. Except for that, Grace kept on wanting to skip, and I didn't. How come you don't want to skip? She said. Me and you always skip to the bus. I know, Grace, I said. But today I've got a very big problem inside my head, and it's called, I still don't know what job I want to be when I grow up. I do, said that Grace. I'm going to be Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. I did a big sigh at her. Yeah, only too bad for you, Grace, I said, because there's no one real live Mickey Mouse and you're not him. That Grace did laugh very hard. Mickey isn't real, silly. He's just a mouse suit with a guy inside, she said. So just then I felt very sickish inside of my stomach, because I didn't know Mickey was a suit. That's why. What'd you have to do and tell me that for? I said, real upset. Now I feel very depressed. And then I hurried to the bus and I scooted way over to the window. Except I couldn't get peace and quiet because everybody kept talking about job day. I'm going to be a famous singer, said a girl named Rose. I'm going to be a famous baton twirler, said another girl named Linny. Then a girl named Charlotte said she was going to be a famous painter. Famous painters are called artists, she said, and artists are very rich. After that, I felt a little bit cheerier because guess what? Grandma Miller says I paint beautifully, that's what. Hey, maybe I'll be a famous painter too, I said. I'm going to be a prison guard, said a boy named Roger. My Uncle Roy's a prison guard, and he gets to carry keys around for the whole entire prison. Then my mouth did a smile, because one time my dad gave me the keys to the front door, and I unlocked it all by myself, and I didn't need any help. Hey, maybe I might carry keys too, Roger, I said, because I know how to use those things very good. Just then, William raised his hand, very bashful. I'm going to be a superhero and save people from danger, he said. And so then I jumped right out of my seat because that was the bestest idea of all. Me too, William, I hollered, because that sounds very exciting, I think, and so I'm going to save people from danger too. Then that mean Jim jumped at me. Copycat, you're just saying what everyone else is saying. Anyway, you can't be 3 jobs. You can only have 1. I made a growly face. But I am being just 1 job, I said angry. It's a special kind of job where you paint and you unlock stuff and you save people. So there, haha on you. That Jim made a crazy sign at me. Junie B. Jones, there's no such job like that in the whole entire universe. Yes, there is too, you big fat Jim, I yelled. And it's the bestest job in the whole wide world. He crossed his arms and did a mean smile. Okay then, what's the name of it? He said. Then the bus got very quiet, and everybody kept on waiting and waiting for me to say the name of my job, except for I couldn't think of anything. And so my face got very reddish and hottish, and I felt like P.U. again. See? Told ya, said that mean Jim. There's no such job. Told ya. After that, I sat down very quiet, and I stared out the window, because the sickish feeling was back inside my stomach again, that's why. Me and my big fat mouth. Chapter 4. Ollie. I got off the bus at my corner. Then I run to my house speedy quick. Help, I'm in big trouble, I yelled to my mother. Because I accidentally shot out my big fat mouth in the bus and now I have to paint and unlock stuff and save the people from danger. Only guess what kind of job is that? Back here, Mother called. Back here means the nursery. The nursery is the place where my new baby brother named Ollie lives. I ran there my fastest. Mother was rocking Ollie in the rocking chair. He was a little bit sleeping. I need to talk to you very bad, I shouted some more, because I did a big fib and now I don't know how to get rid of it. Just then Ollie waked up. He started crying very much. Great, said Mother very growly. Yeah, only I'm sorry, but I'm upset here, I explained. Ollie screeched louder and louder. His voice sounded like a scratchy sore throat. Mother put him on her lap. Then she rubbed the sides of her forehead with her fingers. That's because she had a migraine headache, I think. You're just going to have to wait until the baby gets settled again, she said very grumpy. Yeah, only I can't wait, Mother butted in. Not now, Junie B. I'll be out to talk to you as soon as I can. Now please go. Then she pointed out the door. Pointing means O-U-T, out. Darn, I said. Darn. Because that baby takes up all a mother's time. And he's not even interesting. He doesn't know how to roll over or sit up or play Chinese checkers. He's a dud, I think. I would like to take him back to the hospital, but Mother says no. After I left the nursery, I went outside in my front yard. Then I sat in the grass all by myself and I played with a stick and another ant. Only this ant bited me. And so I had to throw him away. Finally, my daddy's car came into the driveway and my heart got very happy. Daddy's home, hooray, hooray, I yelled. And then I ran to him and he picked me up and I gave him my biggest hug. I'm very glad to see you, I said. Because on Monday, I have to dress up like what job I want to be, except for I accidentally said I'm going to paint and save people and carry lots of keys. Only what kind of job is that? Daddy put me down. His eyebrows looked confused at me. Can we talk about this at dinner? He asked. No, I said. We have to talk right now because I've already waited all I can and I'm getting tension in me. Well, I'm afraid you're just going to have to wait a little longer, said Daddy. Because right now I've got to see if your mother needs help with the baby. Then he did a kiss on my forehead and he walked right into the house. And so guess what? Sometimes I wish Ollie never even came to live with us. Chapter 5. Shining. When I went back inside, Ollie was still very screaming. That's because Mother couldn't find his pacifier. Pacifiers are what babies like to suck on, except I don't know why, because one time I sucked on Ollie's and it tasted like my red sneakers. Just then Mother ran out of Ollie's room, and her hair was very sticking out, and her clothes were all wrinkly, and she was wearing one sock, and that's all. Where is it? Where is the pacifier? I didn't just disappear into thin air, you know? She hollered very loud. Then me and Daddy had to help Mother look for the pacifier speedy quick because she was losing her mind, I think. I looked in the couch. That's because sometimes if you push your hand way under the cushions, you can find some good stuff under there. This one time I found 3 Cheetos and a popcorn. They were very delicious. After that, I looked under Daddy's big chair. Only it was too dark to see under there, and so I ran to get the flashlight because I learned about flashlights in school, remember? Flashlights are fun to shine in the dark. I shined it in the dark closet and also down the dark basement steps. Then I remembered another dark place, and its name was Screaming Ollie's room. Because the shades were pulled down for his nap, that's why. I run in there speedy fast. Look, I said to Screaming Ollie, I've got a flashlight. I shined it in the ceiling. See, there's a little round circle of shine up there, I said. Then I shined it in his jungle gym on his jungle wallpaper. And see the monkeys, Ollie? The hippopotamus something? I asked. Only Screaming Ollie just kept right on screaming, and he didn't show courtesy to me. Courtesy is the school word for listening very polite. That's how come I shined it right in his big crying mouth. Except for just then a problem happened, and it's called Mother sneaked up on me in her quiet sock. Junie B. Jones, what in the world do you think you are doing? I did a gulp. Then my heart got very pumpy because I was in big trouble, that's why. I'm shining, I said real soft. Out, she said. Out right now. And so that's how come I started to leave, except for then the flashlight shined on the floor, and I saw something very wonderful down there. Hey, look, it's a pacifier, I shouted. I found the pacifier. It was hiding under the rocking chair. Then I hurried to pick it up, and I gave it to Mother. Her face got relief on it. Thank goodness, she said. Yes, thank goodness, I said back. Mother wiped the pacifier off, and then she blew it on it real hard. Yeah, but you can't blow germs off, you know, I said, because there's stuff that's been on the ground. It's been very dangerous. And so then Mother gave me the pacifier, and I washed it off with soap and water. And then guess what? I put it right in Ollie's mouth, and he stopped crying. Mother looked proud of me. Where did you get to be so smart? She said. At school, that's where, I said. Then all of a sudden my eyes got big and wide because I got a great idea, and it popped right in my head. I thought of it, I hollered. I thought of what I can be for job day. Then I jumped up and down, and I ran down the hall. Daddy was in his chair reading the paper. I busted through it with my head. I thought of it. I thought of what kind of job I could be when I grow up. Daddy said, slow down, to me. That's because he didn't know what I was talking about, of course. Yeah, only I can't slow down, I explained, because I'm very celebrating. And now I don't have tension in me anymore. Just then Mother came into the room. What's all the excitement about? She said. I clapped my hands together. I have an announcement. That's what it's all about, I said real happy. Well, what is it? Said Mother. Tell us. And then I stood up straight and tall, and I told Mother and Daddy the name of the job I'm going to be when I grow up. That's a good one, right? I said, very excited. That's the bestest job you've ever heard of, isn't it? Except for Mother and Daddy didn't answer me. They just kept on looking and looking at each other. And Dad did a funny smile, and Mother said the words, oh boy. Before we start reading chapter 6, let's review about what happened so far. So Junie B is having job day at her school. And she told everybody that she has a job that paints, has lots of keys, and saves people. And she told everybody there's one job that does that. And people didn't believe her. So Junie B figured it out last night at home. And she told her mom and dad. And her mom and dad didn't seem too excited about it. We don't know what the job is yet. Maybe we'll find out in chapter 6. Chapter 6 is called Tingling. I couldn't sleep for the whole weekend. That's because I had tingling and excitement about job day and my brain wouldn't settle down. And so on Monday, I zoomed to the bus speedy fast. "Look, Mr. Wu," I said to my bus driver, "look what I'm wearing today." Then I opened my jacket and I showed him my job clothes. "See? It's nice pants and dangling keys and a paintbrush," I said, "except for I can't tell you what I am because it's my special secret." Then I plopped down in my seat and Mr. Wu drove me to the next corner. That's where my bestest friend Grace got on. She was wearing Mickey Mouse ears and a dress with white and red polka dotties on it. "Grace," I said, very smiling, "you look very beautiful in that dotty thing." "I know it," she said. "That's because I changed my mind about who I'm going to be when I grow up. Now I'm going to be Minnie instead of Mickey." Then I stopped smiling and my stomach felt very sick inside again because that meant Minnie Mouse was a fake too. "Disneyland is a fib," I said. After that, the bus stopped again and William got on. He was wearing a Superman outfit, except he had a W on the front of him and not the letter S for Superman. "The W stands for William," he said to Mr. Wu. "Does that mean you can fly?" said Mr. Wu. Then William grinned very big and he held out his arms and he jumped way up high in the air, except for he didn't fly. And so we just sat down. After that, the other kids got on the bus too. And Roger had on keys just like me and also plastic handcuffs. And Charlotte was wearing a red paint apron with some watercolors in the pocket. And that mean Jim was wearing a white bathrobe. "Hey, I have a bathrobe just like that," I said to Jim very friendly. "It's not a bathrobe," he said. I'm a kung fu karate guy." "Jim is a kung fu karate guy," I said to Grace, "except for he just got out of the bathtub." Then me and her laughed and laughed because that was a funny joke, of course. And job day was going to be the funnest day in the whole wide world. 2 chapters left. Chapter 7. Jobs and jobs. When I got off the bus, I zoomed to room 9. That's because I wanted job day to start very quick. Only first we had to take attendance, and then we had to say, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands." And then I don't even know what that story's talking about, but I forget the rest. Then finally, Mrs. clapped her loud hands together, and guess what? Job day started, that's what. "Boys and girls, you all look so wonderful in your outfits," Mrs. said. "I can't wait to learn what all of you want to be when you grow up. Who would like to go first?" I would, I yelled out. Only then my bestest friend Lucille raised her hand very polite, and so she got to go first. Lucille looked the most beautifulest I had ever seen her. She was wearing a shiny new dress that her Nana bought for her. It was the color of pink velvet. And also she had shiny pink shoes and socks with bows and lace on them. Lucille's Nana is loaded, I think. Lucille went to the front of the room. She reached into a little bag and pulled out a sparkling crown with jewels on it. Then all of room 9 said, "Ooh," except for not the boys. "When I grow up, I'm going to marry a prince," she said, "and I'll be a princess, and my name will be Princess Lucille." Then she put the sparkling crown on her head, and she looked like a fairy tale guy. Then then Mrs. smiled. "That's a lovely thought, Lucille," she said. "I know," Lucille said. "My Nana says if you marry a prince, you're set for life." After that, Lucille said her dress costed $85, and her shoes costed $45, and her lacy socks costed $6.50 plus tax. Then Mrs. told Lucille to sit down. Ricardo went next. He was wearing a round yellow hat. It was the kind of hat you can bang on. "This is called a hard hat," he said. "You have to wear it when you're building tall buildings or else somebody might drop a hammer from way up high and it could hit you on the head and smash you to death." Mrs. smiled. "So you're interested in construction, right, Ricardo?" she asked. But Ricardo kept on talking about other stuff that could fall on your head and squash you, like a paint can and an electric drill and a lunchbox. Then Mrs. said, "Sit down," to him too. That's when William raised his hand. Only he was being very bashful, and he wouldn't go to the front of the room. "You don't have to be nervous, William," said Mrs. "Just tell us what you want to be when you grow up." William covered his face with his hands. "Super William," he said very quiet. Then he got out of his seat, and he jumped up high in the air, only his cape got tangled on his chair, and he crashed into the table. After that, Super William got very sniffling, and Mrs. said we could get back to him later. Then lots of other kids talked about their jobs. Like a boy named Clifton is going to be a rich and famous astronaut. And a girl named Lily is going to be a rich and famous movie star. Also, she wants to direct. And a boy named Ham is going to be a rich and famous boss of a big company. And he taught us how to say the word, "You're fired." And here's the bestest of all, because the boy named Jamal Hall is going to be a rich and famous president of the whole United States. Cool, said Ricardo. The other boy said cool too. I did a secret smile. Yeah, not as cool as my job, I thought to myself. Then I raised my hand very polite, and Mrs. called my name. Oh boy, I shouted. Oh boy, because mine is even better than the President of the United States. And I zoomed quickly to the front of the room. Then my excitement wouldn't stay inside of me anymore. A janitor! I'm going to be a janitor, I hollered out. After that, I jingled my jingly keys and I waved my paintbrush high in the air and I clapped and clapped. Only too bad for me, because nobody else clapped back. And here's something even worse. Room 9 started laughing at me. She wants to be a janitor? They asked. They pointed at my brown pants. And I didn't know what to do, because I felt very crumbling inside. And so I kept on standing there and standing there. And my eyes got a little bit of wet in them, and my nose started running very much, and that's how I covered my face up. They're not having courtesy for me, I said real soft. Only just then, Mrs. clapped her angry hands together, and she scolded Room 9 a real lot. Junie is right, she said. Being a janitor is a very important job. You have to be hardworking and reliable and very, very trustworthy. I peeked through my fingers at her. Yeah, and don't forget the part where you have to save people from danger, I said. Then that Jim laughed out loud. Janitors don't save people from danger. I stomped my foot. Yes, they do. They do too, because one time I was eating a dangerous lifesaver and janitor made me spit it out, and also he brought a flashlight to room 9 and he saved William from the dangerous dental floss. Then I held up my jingly keys. And see these things? Keys are what janitors unlock the bathroom door with, or else we couldn't even go to the bathroom. And then I showed him my paintbrush. And janitor paints trash cans too, I said. And painting is the funnest thing I love. That Jim did a mean smile. Yeah, well, too bad for you, because you're a girl and janitors have to be boys. I run to his table. No, they do not, Jim, I said. Girls can be anything boys can be, right, Mrs. Wright? Because one time I saw that on Sesame Street and also on Oprah. Mrs. did a smile. Then my bestest friend Grace started to clap. And guess what? All the other girls and boys clapped in room 9 too. Chapter 8, last chapter. Gus Baloney. Today, a janitor came to room 9 for show and tell. It was the funnest day I ever saw. That's because he brought his very big toolbox with him. And we played a game called Name the Tools. And guess what? I knew the saw, and the hammer, and the metric socket with adjustable ratchet. Then janitor showed us how to use his stuff. And Charlotte got to shine his giant flashlight. And my bestest friend Grace got to push his big broom. And Lucky Duck Lucille got to clean the chalkboard with a squishy sponge. Except for just that a little bit of trouble happened, because I wanted to mop. Only that Jim wouldn't let go of it. And so I had to push his arm. Pause. She did not have to push his arm. She chose to push his arm. She could have talked to the teacher about it, but she pushed instead. Unpause. After that, the mop got removed from us. Removed to the school ward for snatched right out of our hands. After that, janitor sat in a chair, and room 9 sat all around him. Then he told us all about himself and his job, and guess what? He's been a janitor for 14 years. And he was born in a different country. And his name is Gus Baloney. Hey, I love that name of Gus Baloney. Because Baloney is my favorite kind of sandwich. I think she means bologna. But Baloney and bologna rhyme. Unpause. Then I smiled real proud. And guess what else? I said to room 9. Me and janitor are bestest friends, and sometimes he calls me the nickname of Sis. Then janitor winked at me. And so I winked back, except for both of my eyes kept on shutting. And so I had to hold one of them open with my fingers. I really like Gus Baloney, I whispered to my bestest friend Lucille. Only then, a girl named Lily heard what I said, and she started singing, Junie has a boyfriend. And so that's how come I felt very embarrassed. Me and my big fat mouth, I said. Then Mrs. laughed, and janitor laughed, and everybody else laughed too. After that, janitor had to go back to work, and so Mrs. shook his hand, and then room 9 clapped and clapped for him, and janitor smiled, and his jingly keys jingled all the way out the door. And that is the end, boys and girls, of Junie B. Jones and her big fat